Welcome to our second class. Our topic will be the planetary, the dimensional, and the universal beings. We all have a cosmic origin, and it happens in a way like here on Earth. That is, here we are generated through the union of our father and mother, the cells coming from them, and their creative energy from this fusion, let's say. However, we are not always born in the same place where we are generated. For example, we can be generated in the womb of our mothers in a specific place like Brazil, and after the generation period, we can be born in another point in Japan, and that is where we will consider where our birth took place. And our cosmic origin happens in a similar way. So we can say that we are generated through the supreme consciousness, which can be represented by the creator couple. And we have our gestation in the womb of the goddess in a symbolic way to later be projected to a specific point of the cosmos to start our journey. And this place is what we can call our point of origin. From there, we come into contact with the teachings of that point of that first world that we are projected for one or more cycles. And after that, we can go to other points. But we can have our first experience not only in the third dimension. That is, some people can have their point of origin in different dimensions. Some people start their journey in the ninth dimension, for example, or in the seventh, in the fifth, and then they can come to the third, and others can have been projected to the third at first, and not yet have gone to other dimensions. And those experiences that we acquire in the worlds that we go through, according to the cycles, since each world represents a school with specific teachings, they generate a memory that we can call cosmic memory, and that also represents the knowledge acquired according to our interest and commitment during our journey. Within the nomenclature that we can define as humanoids, we have three main types: planetaries, dimensionals, and universal beings. Being that the planetary ones are those who are born in the third dimension and have not yet had an actual experience in superior dimensions. They have the spirit, which is the divine spark that animates matter, but they do not have what we call a soul, which would be a kind of vibrational consciousness that concerns to the universe and the whole. So the planetaries, generally speaking, are at a level of consciousness more related to the third dimension. Now the dimensionals or extra dimensionals have the spirit and also the soul acquired since their point of origin, that is, already from their creation. They can already conceive the universe as a whole and can also move between dimensions and even create them. That is, their co-creation power is not limited only to the laws of the third dimension. Usually those people are very interested in more profound subjects like history, energy, knowledge in general, the wisdom and the good of the collective. They are people who have a certain sparkle in their eyes because it really represents the window of the soul. And lastly, universal beings are those who have an understanding and mastery of the universal laws. And as they are always connected with the supreme consciousness, they can vibrate as its representatives as well. However, some dimensionals may have already been universal beings that became dimensionals to act in different dimensions for a certain period of time, and then they can return to being a universal being again. And how do the dimensions work? Well, we can use a Cartesian or geometric model to understand a little about them, and we can imagine some elements as a reference. For example, dimension 0 can be represented by a point, dimension 1 by a line, dimension 2 by a square, and dimension 3 by a cube. The point is static. The line is formed by a set of points. It can have two directions, and the square is formed by a set of lines, and it can have several directions in a two-dimensional plane. And the cube is formed by a set of squares and can have multiple directions within itself in a three-dimensional way. But just to be more precise, the sphere is the most perfect shape of the third dimension because it can move in all directions and perspectives. We can then observe that the point fits inside the line, that fits inside the square, that fits inside the cube, but the cube does not fit inside the square, that does not fit in the straight line, and that it does not fit in the point. Therefore, by this logic, what is within the third dimension fits within the fourth, but what's within the fourth does not entirely fit within the third. So our third dimensional intellect doesn't conceive everything that is in the fourth, unless we have the extrasensory ability to mentally vibrate in the fourth dimension. Let us imagine then some elements of nature. In the vibration of the dimension 0, we can consider rocks as well as mountains. They take a long time to move and depend on other elements for that, as it happens in the sedimentation process, which can take thousands of years, maybe even millions. Let's imagine in dimension 1 and 2 the plants, which move more quickly in movements with slightly more differentiated directions, but which we cannot see with the naked eye but with time-lapse footage. And in the third dimension, we already have the animals and humans vibrating who move much faster and in various directions and perspectives. So we can have an idea that the movement of beings that are in higher dimensions has a much greater acceleration. So beings who are in the fourth dimension have to find a meeting point to interact with those who are in the third dimension, and the beings that are in the third must also generate a more accelerated frequency for that. This meeting point, this frequency, we can call zero time, and can generally be created by dimensional people with the mind in an accelerated condition, usually in places where the concentration of energy is more conducive for that type of phenomenon. This usually happens when you manage to generate a frequency compatible with the fifth dimension, and then the beings of higher dimensions can physically present themselves in the third dimension. We can call this frequency Avalon. There are also people who can create a kind of portal together with beings from other dimensions, so that they can physically go to other dimensions and return. This passage can be called Xandra. There is a multi-dimensional reality that can be accessed depending on our point of origin. For example, if my point of origin is in the ninth dimension, being here in the third, I can access my higher self that is there in the ninth, but I can also access my own reality in the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and in the eighth dimension. So sometimes when we interact with other realities and beings from other realities, we can also be interacting with ourselves, that is, with our own projection in another dimension. So the dimensionals can interact with their multidimensional projections that are in other time spaces. Therefore, we can call our higher self our future self, because it is in a more advanced space-time than ours, and that is exactly how our evolution happens. An example here in the third dimension would be the collaboration between realms. When we collaborate with the mineral, animal, plant, and human realms, we are collaborating with our own evolution, because everything is interconnected. Just as when beings from other dimensions collaborate with our evolution, they are also collaborating with their own evolution, as it happens in an ecosystem. And there is a record of our entire cosmic journey of experiences and learnings from our passages in different worlds. We can call this symbology. It is a set of symbols that can appear as a light on our forehead, and some people who receive specific training can read those symbols through the use of the third vision. There is also a cosmic signature that all dimensionals have, called wave frequency, and it serves to identify our vibration and to attract our cosmic tribe or family, which are those people who have more connection with that what we represent and who can collaborate more with what we came here to do. And in order for us to understand what we are and what we came here to do, there is the cosmic memory rescue process, because when we got here and started to interact in this denser reality with the laws of the third dimension, we started little by little losing our abilities and the notion of who we really are and what we came here to do, the tasks we came to perform, our point of origin, etc. This rescue process requires a certain training to understand what happened to us, what are the real problems we face here on Earth, and how we can rescue not only our memory but also our abilities, and thus we can have a life based on a deeper reality, less distressful, happier, and healthier in every way. This rescue process includes some main elements such as the mental and vibrational acceleration, recognition and training of our main abilities, and that we can usually do in places where the energy is more propitious, with the orientation of people who already have a certain level of experience and who can not only inform us better about this process but also give some demonstrations about how it actually happens, not only intuitively but also in a more rational way. Some of those demonstrations demonstrations may include interactions with parallel realities, which usually requires an advanced perception training, a genuine interest, a lot of focus, and a lot of determination. Now let's go to our exercise. We will learn the stabilization and expansion of the biomagnetic field. Our biomagnetic field, or our aura, is a field that we generate through our electromagnetism and that surrounds our body. It is usually around 30 centimeters long, but can expand to many meters or, depending on the person's training, up to kilometers. Stabilizing this field can give us a greater possibility for interaction with parallel realities, as well as its expansion, as we generally have to start this type of training at a certain distance between our physical body and other realities, as the vibration of our body can be still not fully compatible with the elements that can appear during those phenomena. But if we stabilize and expand our aura, we can reach the vibration of those elements even at a certain distance. So let's move to the exercise, and it's very simple. For the stabilization, first we can rub our hands so we can generate some electrostatic energy, and then we can simply close our left hand, as there is a biomagnetic vortex in the center of it that receives energy. So when we close our left hand, that interrupts the flow of energy that we receive from the external environment in our physical body. And for the expansion, we just need to inhale and hold our breath until we can't take it anymore. This is an introductory exercise, but it's often used in exercises with all kinds of interactions with parallel realities, mainly for a better hearing and visualization of phenomena that happen mostly in external environments, where we can also interact with the earth, the air, the water, the fire, and the elementals. That's it for now, and I see you on our next class.